Good evening, Tulane families. My name is Penny Wyatt. I'm the Director of Family Programs at Tulane. We are so happy that you've joined us for our webinar tonight, Academic Opportunities and Support. This is the last topic in our Tulane Talks series. These particular webinars are designed to familiarize you with different resources and support structures and opportunities for your students in a few key areas, along with some content to help you initiate some conversations with your students about these areas of their Tulane education, hopefully before they arrive next month. So we do know that you're in the midst of a lot of that essential preparation for their move to Tulane. You're dealing with the getting everything submitted for their immunizations and their health insurance information and starting to pack and figuring out how to get your students' belongings to campus. But this webinar tonight is on this other topic, academic opportunities and support. So we would ask that you hold those questions and just focus with us tonight on this particular topic. But if you can't find answers that you need about those other procedural kinds of things, please remember that you can always email me at families@tulane.edu. If you can't find that information in earlier messages, or if your student has lost that information in their Tulane email, you can email me and I'll either answer or get you connected to the right people on campus to answer those questions. So for tonight, our webinar procedures are that we disable the participants' audio, video, and chat in this format. We ask that you hold your questions until after the panelists finish their presentation, because they've worked very hard to try to anticipate the questions that you might have and give you a lot of thorough information. But if we get to that point and you have questions, we'll prompt you when it's time to use the Q&A function in your controls and submit your questions. And we'll try to get to as many of those as we can tonight. And we will also email all of you who participated and even those who registered and couldn't be with us tonight a follow-up email, and we will address any questions that were submitted that we ran out of time for this evening. So the video recording of this will be sent to you, but it's also always archived on our website at that URL that you see there. So the general website is parents.tulane.edu, and you just navigate to communications, and then you'll find the webinars and tutorials archive. So without further ado, I'll turn things over to our panelists. So next slide. So here we are, we're going to start our topic tonight, academic opportunities and support for your incoming new student at Tulane.
Fantastic. Thank you, Penny. Hi, everyone. My name is Mollye Demosthenidy, and I am the Dean of Newcomb-Tulane College and a faculty member in the School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine. And I am joined tonight by my colleague, Kelly Grant, who's Vice Dean of the college and a faculty member in the Freeman School of Business. And we are really thrilled to be here to welcome you as you start to think about your students' 4 years here and all of the academic opportunities in front of them. And so tonight we want to share a little bit about those opportunities, as well as the support that we will offer your student when they arrive on campus in just 1 month, which is pretty crazy. So with that, Jordan, would you move us forward? Okay, great. Thank you. So I always like to start out with a little bit about our vision for undergraduate education at Tulane. Our vision is that we are a premier university for undergraduate education, that we've got a laser focus on academic excellence and student success, that we attract the brightest and most ambitious students, and we offer them what we consider to be unmatched opportunities for exploration and study during their time at Tulane. And we do this really by making sure that the undergraduate experience represents the whole of our university. That's cutting edge research that's led by our more than 2,000 faculty across 10 schools. It's cultivated with the spirit of interdisciplinarity and innovation. You'll see a commitment to community and really the embodiment of our university values. And it's a big, exciting place. I suspect that's what drew many of your students to choose Tulane. And Newcomb-Tulane College is the framework that allows us to take that big, exciting place and create a 4-year path for your students. It's this single body that facilitates a liberal arts education at an R1 university with high faculty engagement and high student support. And so we're going to tell you a little bit more about that tonight. Next slide, please. So you might have remembered this from visiting Tulane and learning about Tulane, but we're a little bit unique in the fact that we have Newcomb-Tulane College. We use what we call a 1 college, 5 schools model. And so all of our students, including your student, matriculate into and graduate from Newcomb-Tulane College. And what that means is they have access to faculty and to courses and to programs across all 5 of our undergraduate schools, from liberal arts to science and engineering, architecture, business, and public health, and really even beyond across the university. So it's a little bit different than a traditional College of Arts and Sciences because your student is a member of Newcomb-Tulane College, and they can access courses and they can access programs across any of these schools without another application. They, by virtue of being a college student, can do this. And not only can they do this, we actually actively encourage it. It's the spirit of Newcomb-Tulane College. Next slide, please. So, one of the hallmarks of the college experience is that encouragement of exploration. The first way they're doing this is something you're probably already familiar with the registration process upon us, which is exploring through our core curriculum. We are encouraging students to take courses that they've not ever thought of before, and we are encouraging them to try out new things. And we need your help in that because really the best thing you can do is encourage them to be brave in that selection as well. Another way that we encourage exploration, and your student will have opportunities, are through our interdisciplinary cohort programs. Some of your students might be in a first-year scholar society. As they approach sophomore year, they'll have an opportunity to join one of our college scholars cohorts, which are faculty-led academic learning communities outside of the classroom where students get to explore interdisciplinary issues like imagined communities or food security and climate change, social determinants of health. They can really find something that speaks to them, that they want to deepen their perspective, surround themselves with students from different majors, different courses, and undergo an interdisciplinary exploration. We supplement this with a really pretty vast menu of co-curricular program. We pride ourselves on giving our students access to respected innovators and explorers, thought leaders. They can do that through really large speaking events. You see a photo on the screen of our most recent Whitmire Dean Symposium. We're featuring Lisa Jackson, former head of the EPA and a vice president at Apple, also a Tulane alum. We're very proud. Through guest lectures in their courses, through small conversation circles, and really even one-to-one mentoring. And so it's worth repeating, what we really need from you on this is encouragement to explore and try something new, right? You never know exactly what might spark a new curiosity. Next slide. As your student moves through the 4 years at Tulane, they'll have a lot of opportunities to take what they're learning in the classroom and experience it in a different setting. In academics, it's called a high impact practice of experiential learning, and we offer a really robust portfolio for that. Whether it be undergraduate research, study abroad, community engaged service, and internships. And so I'll tell you a little bit about these just so you kind of get a sense of what's available and what your students should be looking out for as they progress through their time at Tulane. We have students involved in undergraduate research across all of our schools and working with all of our faculty. If you'll permit me, I'll tell you about a couple of our students. Mary Lorino is a class of 2024 graduate. She was an undergraduate researcher in science and engineering in Dr. Maria Galazzo's lab. She was recently awarded a Marshall Scholarship based on that research that she did at Tulane, and she's heading off to pursue a dual Master of Research degree at the University of Edinburgh. We have students that are doing field research abroad in excavation sites and in museums. We have students that are working doing public health data collection. There's tremendous opportunity once your student has sort of identified some areas of interest. We have an undergraduate research network where students can identify these opportunities, and we have a full office of undergraduate research and fellowships that can help students both prepare in developing the skills that they need to participate in undergraduate research, as well as connect them with faculty members. Many of your students will likely want to study abroad. About 65 to 70% of Tulane students study abroad during their 4 years. That's dramatically larger than the national average, which is actually just about 6%. Many of our peers are around 40 to 50%. There's a special hallmark of Tulane students, I think, that they seek out these immersive global experiences. Typically, our students opt for longer term programs. About 3/4 of them complete a semester or a full year abroad. The rest of them typically participate in summer programs or even in just shorter between term programs. But it's our belief, and we know actually, that study abroad can be a profoundly enriching and transformative experience. Experiencing life in another country allows students to immerse themselves in different cultures and different languages. Many of our abroad programs offer unique courses working with specialized faculty. And I think really importantly, living and studying in a foreign country challenges students to step outside their comfort zone, to adapt to a new environment, and to become more self-reliant. And we actually know from the literature that employers increasingly value candidates with international experience, particularly study abroad experience. It demonstrates adaptability, intercultural communication, independence. There's a really interesting study out of Babson University that notes that students with study abroad experience are actually more likely to be hired 6 months after graduation. So it's an important part of our portfolio. Tulane has a long-standing and significant commitment to community engaged service. I think we are known for this nationally. It's when most students tell me it's one of the reasons that they were attracted to Tulane. Your student will have the opportunity to participate in 2 service experiences at Tulane. They can participate in more, but all students participate in 2. And we've got a really big portfolio of programs. They might get to work with my colleague, Katie Russell, who most recently had her students working with the Audubon Aquarium, creating neoprene suits for turtles with cracked shells. They might also be working in City Park with youth on the Gurdett Youth Farm, or in one of my favorite programs, Girls in STEM at Tulane, or Boys at Tulane in STEM. I have an 11-year-old daughter who never misses that and loves engaging with Tulane students in science. And then eventually we'll want your student, as they are starting to think about what's next for them for Tulane, to be developing some experience in the career space and through internships. And so what we encourage students to do in the first year is start thinking about career exploration, major exploration, what their own strengths are, what interests them. We have curriculum that students can sign up for to prepare themselves. We also have a curriculum that's available online as students engage in this. And then we have opportunities for one-on-one coaching to help students facilitate into internships through our employer relations team. So lots of opportunities around that too. I sort of gave you a picture of the 4 years. It probably would be helpful, I think, to spend some time just thinking about the first year as well, since that's what's coming up for you. And so I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Kelly, who can give you a little bit more information about that. Take it away, Kelly.
Thanks, Molly. Good evening to everybody, and I'm so glad to be here and talking about what our students can experience in their first year in academics, as well as all of our support services that we have available. I've been teaching and working with first-year students for my entire career, for over 20 years. I've taught first-year seminar for a long time. I taught beginning English for a long time, and then intro to business and some of the business courses. So got a lot of experience with the students as they come into an academic community. And so we see that as a really big transition, and it's probably a big transition for you as parents. And it's a big transition for your student who probably isn't admitting it completely, but we take it very seriously. It's a big adjustment that they make. And we really do a very purposeful and intentional job of putting together a structured orientation that doesn't just go with the day that they arrive on campus for a few days, but we try to carry that through the whole first year. And we try to make sure that they leave their first year at Tulane with a foundation that can support all those great things that Molly just told you about. Students, if they feel comfortable in the academic community, if they know all their resources, if they get to know the faculty and how to work with them, that's when they best engage with undergraduate research, study abroad, community engaged service, and then also go on to internships. And I did not ask Jordan to change the slide, so I think everyone is still seeing the last slide. I'm so sorry, Jordan. Thank you so much. Thank you. So the first year, really, we have 4 important goals in the first year as we work with your students. The first one is we want them to get to know the campus and the campus community and what it means to be a member of an academic community. We want them to get to know the city of New Orleans. Even if your student is from New Orleans and you're locals on this webinar, you can view New Orleans through a different lens if you're seeing it with your colleagues from other parts of the country. And if you're hearing about different parts of New Orleans through the lens of a faculty member, through the historical lens and other ways through art and culture. We also have the goal of helping them adjust to college. Like I said, this is probably a transition that your student is not readily admitting that they're very scared to do. But we know that they have some apprehension and that they're a little bit nervous about being a fish out of water and getting to a place where it seems like everyone knows what to do except for them. And we try to normalize that and let them know that everyone in their class is in the same boat, that nobody really knows everything to do in their first year. And we try to give them as much information as we can, just not all at once. We try to, again, spread that out over the year so that they can take it in slowly. And then finally, our final goal is really to help them get to know themselves, to really get to know their values and figure out who should their friends be, who do they want their friends to be, and what do they want to study and what are their interests. And it's not really about declaring a major in the first year. It's really about exploring and trying different classes and getting to know people that are interested in maybe different things than they are. And experiencing all that Tulane can offer them in terms of majors and minors and even electives. And we have a great academic advising department to really help them sort out. I talked about the structured orientation that goes for a whole year, and they've already started that. So they started that with their modules. I hope that they are taking the time to watch each of the modules. Our staff members in the first year experience spend the entire year creating those modules, and they do it in a way that gives them the information that they need right then. Things that can help them plan to come to campus, things that they need to know about getting advised, things that they need to know about being a community member, about immunizations, about all sorts of things. So those modules can be really, really helpful if you, I would encourage you to ask your student to see if they've watched all the modules till the end, and there's a quiz at the end of each module, and if they've completed the quiz. And then it continues with orientation when you arrive on campus. You'll move into campus, and then at some point you will depart campus and leave your student with us. They will be guided then by what's called a wave leader, which is a peer mentor specifically for orientation. They'll meet their resident assistant in their resident hall. And they'll also start to meet faculty during that orientation period and participate in the book project discussion. And they'll also have their first year seminar meeting. And that goes until the first day of classes. And then they also have the opportunity during that period to walk the campus and to find where their classes are, which again takes some of the mystery out of this adventure that they're embarking on. They'll have a first year seminar, and they'll also meet faculty through residential faculty mentors. Meeting faculty on campus is something that's so important, and it just doesn't happen in the classroom. We really encourage extra activities and engagements with faculty outside the classroom in panel discussions on topics that might be timely, that might be attached to something that they want to major in. But we also have people like residential faculty mentors who are in the residence halls for certain times of day just to answer general questions. I have several friends that are residential faculty mentors who watch first year students kind of wander around aimlessly in the first 2 weeks looking for the washer and dryer, and then standing there confused about how to use it. That is nobody's fault. It's not your fault. They didn't pay attention when you told them, but these are things that faculty members can use to help them do that, but then also to engage them and talk to them about what their intellectual interests are, what their academic interests might be, and then how they're doing in the transition. And we have a wonderful slate of residential faculty mentors who are available to do all of that. We also, in the first year, have peer mentoring. This was so important for us. We didn't have peer mentoring prior to 2016. And what we know about students is that they will accept advice and accept information more readily from a peer than they will from some of us. We know this, right? They listen to their friends. And what we do for the peer mentors is we put them through extensive training to get to know what Tulane's values are, to get to know how to point your students into the direction of the right resources for what they might need. And we let the peer mentors really guide our first year students, navigating the campus, navigating how to balance your classes and your coursework with the going out factor and the social life that you can have at Tulane. Our peer mentors are just experts at balancing all of it. They not only talk about the best ways to do it, but they share with first year students some of the pitfalls that they experienced in their first year with the hopes of keeping your students from making the same mistakes. So the peer mentoring program is one of our strongest programs. Every single first year seminar has a peer mentor attached to it. So your student will have a peer mentor that they'll share just with their first year seminar students, another 10 or 15 students. And that peer mentor will have a group chat with them. They'll be available for one-on-one meetings, and they're really, really, really helpful. We also have our staff, and the staff at Newcomb-Tulane College and in the first year experience are really experts in this transition period for students. As I said, we have a very intentional and structured orientation that lasts the entire year, and the staff members in the first year experience office are with them every step of the way. There's activities that your students will get invited to, some lunches with the dean, with Mollye, sometimes meetings with me just to come and check how are things going. And they'll also get invited to things like Front Porch Fridays, which is a gathering of all of the Newcomb-Tulane College students and all of our staff, and some faculty drop by. And it's just a great opportunity for them to meet each other and to get to know the staff again. Our departments from all over campus put up tables. They talk to students about resources, and students can start to get involved with different things in different offices on campus. So we really put a lot into the first year, again, knowing that that is the foundation that they're going to lean on when they want to go on in sophomore, junior, and senior year and engage in some of those great activities that Mollye talked about earlier. I would encourage you to go on the first year experience website for Tulane. There's a particular brochure there that's in format, in PDF format. It's called Friends of the First Year. And that outlines about 10 or 12 staff members and peer mentors that are available to your student. So when you get that call, I don't know what to do, I don't know who to go to, I don't know who to ask this question of, that Friends of the First Year can be a great reference for you and for your student to point you in the direction of someone who might be able to help. Jordan, if you want to just advance the slide, I'll talk a little bit about student support. So here at Tulane, we're very, very proud of our student support network. We have built it up over the last decade or more. And what we've recognized is that students really need what we call wraparound services or wraparound support. We try to think about the student holistically, not just academically, but what's going on with them? How is their mental health? How are they feeling? Are they apprehensive about something? Are they feeling bad about something? And we try to point them in the right direction of a particular resource. Just a minute, I'm going to take a glass of water. Sorry about that, a little dry in here today. So Tulane is a very tight-knit community of professionals that are dedicated to our students. We work together all the time. We try to talk all the time. Newcomb-Tulane College is very connected to the Dean of Students Office and the Division of Student Affairs. And we do our best to support students no matter what they have coming up. Our goals in student support are really to help students become their own best advocates. How can they speak up for themselves? How can they recognize that they might need something and go to the right person or any person that's on our support staff and ask for that help? We also try to have a culture that promotes a growth mindset. So you might not be good at something right now, but that's just right now. And with a little practice, a little help, a little extra supplemental instruction, you can become very good at it. And so we really try to encourage students to have patience with themselves and then to seek the help that can get them to the goal that they've set. And then again, I want to just go back to, we want them to learn about themselves. We want them to think about their values. All of our support staff try to have those conversations with students so that they can get to know what their values are and find friends that are aligned with those values. It's really important to us. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the squares you see on the slides in front of you. Wave of Support is our mental health initiative that is campus-wide. It serves up programs to students, and it also gives them resources in the 8 dimensions of wellness. And we like to think of our campus as a place where people care about each other out loud. And Wave of Support carries that message across campus to our students, our faculty, and our staff. And we've gotten wonderful feedback from our students. It's been in place since around 2021. The Academic Learning and Tutoring Center, that's the Academic Learning Support Square that you see, is our tutoring center located in the library. It has fantastic resources. I find that first-year students, despite all of our communication, tend to wait until they have a bad test score to get involved with the Academic and Learning and Tutoring Center. I would suggest do it now. We try to tell students that in orientation, especially if you're enrolled in one of the STEM courses, sign up for supplemental instruction, find a tutor, go to the center, study there, find a study group. It can all be so helpful to them right away. College advising, I'm going to talk about in just a minute last, because I have a couple updates for you, and move on to fellowship advising. Fellowship advising is really helpful. They can even start thinking about it in their first year. What do they want to do after college? It's a big question. It doesn't always have to do with jobs. It can have to do with graduate school. We are one of the highest Fulbright fellowship producers in the country. Our students go on to wonderful Fulbright opportunities. And we have a lot of scholars, and you can start thinking about that as soon as first year. So in that photo, you'll see Thomas Spencer, who's sitting there. He's the director, and he goes out and does about, I don't know, Mollye can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think about 35 presentations to students in one semester. And so people on our campus know Thomas Spencer, and I would encourage your student to think about just visiting with them and hearing about all the opportunities that could be waiting for them after they're done with their degree. The Center for Academic Equity is a wonderful center that started in around 2016. It serves a lot of our special populations of students, and it's a wonderful place just to go and meet the staff. It's a very small office where students find it great to just go and study and get to know the staff and participate in things like first-generation student programs, and other programs that can really support students who might feel like they haven't found their community on campus. And then finally, success coaching is the last thing there before I talk about advising. Success coaching is a great service that students don't always take advantage of. One of the chief things that we see that students really have difficulty with is time management. And that has to do with priorities and it has to do with goals. Success coaching, even in one appointment, in a few appointments, in a year-long engagement with success coaching, can help your students find their way to some really good habits, some really productive habits, and can help them feel like they're not doing anything wrong at college. They just haven't learned what their style is and how they can go about approaching their academic life. Success coaches are just a really great team. For college advising, I just want to update everyone that we've gone through the registration period with our first-year students. Many of you probably have a first-year student that's completed that registration period. For students who have met with advising, as of today, you no longer have a hold, or your student no longer has a hold on their account. So they can go into what's called their Gibson, and they can look at their schedule and look at the course schedule, and they could change their classes. Now, I say that with a little bit of caution. I would highly recommend that they make a one-on-one appointment with advising, meet their first-year advisor. We have a first-year advising team that is incredible, and meet their advisor and have a good one-on-one talk about what changes they would like to see in their schedule before they do it. Our advisors have lots of good advice about that, and they will be able to guide them through any changes. If your student has not met with advising yet, then they're a little bit behind, but it's not bad. They can still do that. They have information in their email right now that gives them a link to be able to meet with advising. They do have a hold on their account if they have not met with advising yet. And so they will not be able to change their schedule or add any classes until they meet with advising. But I would encourage you to have your student, if they haven't done so already, meet with advising as soon as possible. Advising has already met with 99% of the students who are incoming. So there are very, very few students who have not met with advising. Advising is just a great resource. They're also a fantastic resource for students on a number of questions. If that is the only staff member that your student engages with and goes to for help, they will be helped by an academic advisor. So that also is a great organization. Jordan, I think you can change the slide. Penny, I think you did this slide last time, but I'm happy to go over it. These are questions that you might want to talk through with your student before they come to campus. Penny, I just saw you unmute. Did you want to jump in here? Or would you like me to cover this slide?
You're fine. You can go ahead and share those questions.
Okay. So before you get into the whole frenzy of move-in and you leave for campus, it might be a great idea to sit down and have a conversation with your student and talk about things like, what do you think you're going to do if you run into an issue with time management, for instance? How will you access support? How do you plan to track your assignments? How do you plan to maybe use a planner? How are you going to go about that when you get to campus? That is just to get them thinking. Get them thinking for two reasons. One, to create a plan, but two, also to listen for those things during orientation and maybe ask their peer mentor for some help in that area. What happens when they get their first disappointing grade on an assignment? And it will happen. They're in college. It's a little bit different schedule, different material, different level of discussion in the classroom. What will they do when they get their first disappointing assignment? Who will they go to for help? What will be their course of action? Just kind of moping about it and being sad and using it as confirmation that they can't do it is the absolute wrong thing to do. We've got plenty of help. And I would say, and this isn't statistically proven in any way, 9 out of 10 students get a not great grade or something that they're disappointed in, which for some of our top students can just be a B+ within the first month or two. They really need to have a plan. What are they going to do in that case? Who are they going to reach out to? What help might they seek? And And then finally, how will you think about Tulane and taking advantage of all of its opportunities? Not just courses that they can explore, but clubs that they can join, intramural sports that they might take up. They might go to the Riley Center. How might they continue things that they love doing? If they love running, or if they love exercising, if they love knitting or painting, how might they plan to continue to do that at Tulane and through all of the things that we offer? So these are just some good questions to kind of start a conversation and get them thinking about how they're going to plan for their experience at Tulane, their time on campus, and how they're going to take advantage of everything we have to offer. And again, we're very proud of our support services. And so I hope that you will encourage your students to take advantage of all of them. So with that, I guess change to the next slide, and thank you.
So Penny, I think we're happy to answer questions about anything we talked about today or about other opportunities or support that are of interest to this group.
So I'll start looking through questions. So families, now is the time for you to start typing in your questions, and I'll pose these to Mollye and Kelly so they can answer those. So the first question is, how does my son find out who his first year advisor is?
So when you make an appointment, when you go in and use the link to make an appointment, you will make an appointment, but they will go ahead and assign you to your advisor. We have 6 first-year advisors. Those first-year advisors, one, should be sending out emails this week to introduce themselves to your student as their first-year advisor. But again, if they go in and make an appointment, someone on the back end will go ahead and reroute that to the first-year advisor that's assigned to your student.
Any other questions, family? We're happy to answer some more questions that you might have. So here's another one. I'm confident that my daughter's going to be just fine. Your onboarding for new students is really great. Keep up the good work. So we thank you. That wasn't a question. That was a nice compliment. So thank you very much. Here's the next question. Can you talk about the Newcomb course bundle? So that's the bundle of course materials, and it's phrased that way because some things are not books. They're other kinds of materials, or they're not all print books. Some of them are also, electronic materials. So would either of you like to tackle that?
I can share a little bit. I mean, Kelly, if you want to jump in. So this is actually an initiative run through Campus Services and the bookstore, but we call it the NTC Book Bundle because it is our course material bundle, because it is for NTC undergraduate students. Typically what happens is about a month before courses start, students get an email with their courses that they've registered for and how they can either opt in or, well, let me take that back, how they can participate in the bundle or they can opt out. It's a set fee per semester. The students get the materials and they return them. They can mark them up. Some students like it because it makes the courses, the prices a bit more manageable, and I think it's a little bit easier to navigate. Some students prefer to get their books on their own. They like a different version. They can easily opt out once they get that email. So it's really important just to keep an eye out for that message to come so that they can choose what they're doing. And I think this is a semester by semester choice. Penny, there is a website all about the book bundle with a bunch of FAQs through Campus Services. Maybe you could share that with this group. I think that'd be helpful.
I'll share that in the follow-up email, but there was also an article about the NTC bundle in the family newsletter that went out on Friday, this past Friday. If you haven't been receiving the family newsletter, you can find them archived at families.tulane.edu, but I'll put that information in the follow-up email for you. Some students also appreciate it because it's mostly electronic, and so if they go home for the weekend, or if we had to have a hurricane evacuation for a couple of days or something, then they can access them, from anywhere online. So we'll definitely make sure to follow up and give you more a reference to learn more about that. So the next question is, I want my daughter to have the opportunity to learn all about different jobs or careers, and what's the best way, in addition to going to clubs and talking to advisors, what other opportunities are there? Is there some class that explores everything? There's so much new since this parent was in college and just want to make sure their student knows more about career opportunities.
Yeah,
So,
same for me. So much news since I was in school as well. So yes is the answer. We run 2 courses. They're called CRDV courses, career development courses. There's a, I shouldn't try to tell you the numbers. I think it's like 1010 and 1020. They're both introductory courses. They're 1 credit each. And the first one is really around career and major exploration. And the second one is a deeper dive into skills. So students can register for these any semester. They're typically 8-week courses. And so I would encourage you to have your student register for that sometime during their first year. We also are launching in August. We're taking all of that material that's in the courses and we're putting it online in an asynchronous format so that students can access it whenever they want. If they're on break and you see that they maybe are idle and would like to encourage them to do that, they can do that. If they want to do parts of it, they can do it. We have it in 2 different formats because some students do really well with the structure of a course, meeting weekly, having an instructor, having some accountability. Some students need it on demand. We have both options. And so I would say in any of these, right, we encourage all of our students to take advantage of. Yep.
so one parent would like to hear a little bit more about tutoring.
Sure. So our tutoring is housed in the Academic Learning and Tutoring Center, and we call that the ALTC. And it's physically located in the library on the lower level. We like to call that the garden level. And it's a big, wide open space where tutors do in-person one-on-one tutoring. But we also have online tutoring. So we have tutors available and students can make appointments with them through a particular scheduling system that your student will have access to. And they'll be able to sign up for a tutor at a certain time. We have tutoring in, I think it's over 100 subjects right now, tons of tutors and tons of subjects are covered. All upperclassmen who've been vetted and trained by our director and our staff in the Academic Learning and Tutoring Center. And that's just one way to get extra help. The most common way, and over 80% of our freshman class last year took advantage of this, is supplemental instruction. We call it SI. And SI is attached to a lot of our STEM classes, but is also attached to some of our language classes as well. And it's an extra session per week that students can attend with a teaching assistant and SI instructor. They can ask questions about that week's material, and then they can also go through a review session. And students really enjoy that and they get a lot out of it. So I would suggest that any student that is in a math or science course, either Chem 1010 or Bio, EE Bio, that they sign up for one of those supplemental instruction courses right away. And then also think about tutoring and look at the tutoring options right away at the beginning of the semester.
And Kelly, could you clarify too, like those tutoring sessions, they don't have to pay extra for those?
No.
That's all
No.
part of the Tulane experience and what
That's all provided by Tulane. Yep.
And I think this is correct, that if there is an SI opportunity for a particular course, it's usually, the professor usually mentions that in their syllabus, I believe.
They do. So the professor will announce it right away and students will be able to sign up for it. But students can also just go to the ALTC website and see if their course is listed. And they can sign up that way as well.
And if I remember correctly, the students who lead those sessions were, they took that class.
They
and
did.
Approved by the professor.
Yes.
So they're vetted by those professors to be able to hold those roles as SI.
They also attend the classes. So they attend the classes and they know exactly where the students are in their material.
It's really great for the students because there's somebody closer to their own age.
Yeah.
Who heard the same information, but has already successfully completed that course. So it's just a perspective that can be so beneficial for the new students in the class. So it's really great opportunity for our students. So another question is, my son took his language proficiency test. He received the results. Now what happens? About language course placement.
Depending on what the results are. So what happens is the results of the placement test go to the language department. The process there is the language department determines what your son will have to take. Whether or not it has to be at the basic level, he can advance to the intermediate level. And so the language department makes that determination. We don't get involved with it. It is specifically with the language department. And so if the placement test is complete, the results have already been conveyed to that department. And then he will know what course he should take next.
So if I remember from the webinar on advising, the
Yeah.
student could go back to the advisor and they may have gotten some advice about, well, how did you think you did language-wise? Well, let's initially sign you up in this class, and if you need to change
That's right.
that later, you can do that. So they could go
Yeah.
back to their advisor and, talk about their score, their test results, and then make adjustments if they need before classes begin.
And the advisors also hear from the department, hear from the language department, and they'll do schedule checks to make sure that students are in the right course.
Okay, great. So another question was, is the CRDV class 4 credit? And so the answer is yes. It's a 1 credit
Yes.
class. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
There's 2 different courses. They're each 1 credit, but the student doesn't have to take the course to access the material. The material will be online for the student to access. Anybody can access that. It's just if you want the structure of a class with the assignments and the accountability and the weekly meeting, then we would encourage the student to take the 1 credit class.
And some students really benefit from that group setting of the class.
They do.
They're hearing the discussion, they learn from their peers, they see what other questions people have. So that might be.
They do. It's really student specific. It's why we offer it in both formats, because different students need different things.
And that question about credits is a good one. It leads into one of our other questions, that is, what is the typical load, especially for first-year students, in terms of credit hours, number of courses? So if you could speak to that.
So for a first semester, first year student, it's between 15 and 17 credits is the typical full-time load. 15 credits is 5 3-credit classes, but they will also have a 1 credit first year seminar that we call TIDES or colloquia. And then they may have a lab. So between 15 and 17 credits is usually the typical full-time semester. To graduate in 4 years, students should stay on a track of 15 credits minimum per semester. Now, that doesn't mean that some students don't have to drop a class, something doesn't work out and they go down to 12 credits. They have opportunities later in later semesters to make up that 1 class, or even if they wanted to go in summer school. But there are opportunities to take classes in other times. We don't recommend it, but sometimes students want to drop a class and get a little more focused on just 4 classes, and that's okay.
Kelly, could you also talk about the issue of the fact that our students do get midterm grades before that final drop deadline?
Yeah.
And that the midterm grades don't go permanently on their transcript, but if you could explain about how midterm grades are used.
Yeah, so we send an email out to faculty members and ask them to report midterm grades or it's a midterm progress report for students. Some students will have taken a test, a major test, or completed several assignments, and a professor can issue a midterm grade. It's tricky though, because sometimes you might not have done well on your earlier tests, but again, you got tutoring or success coaching, or you got in touch with someone to get some support, and you know that you can do well for the rest of the semester. It's a good idea at that time at midterms to have good conversations with your professor to see, how is this going to work out for me? What do I have to do to complete the course successfully? Whatever that means to the student. And then make a decision about whether or not they can drop the course. All Newcomb-Tulane College students have to maintain a full-time schedule. The minimum number of credit hours is 12 credit hours. And so usually this can only happen with maybe 1 course because of that 12 credit hour limit. But midterm grades are a really good indication. Sometimes they just help students refocus. And then sometimes students get a midterm grade that says they might be doing better than they think, and it can be a source of encouragement. But it's an interesting time. If students do get a midterm grade that's not great, that maybe is concerning, our advisors and sometimes even our success coaches join in, and we reach out to students and help them get on a success plan for the rest of the semester. It's not formal, it's not reported on the transcript, but we try to help them get back on track.
So there are a couple of questions about AP and IB exam scores and what they should do next with that, with submitting those. So if you could address those questions. Like what's
So I am definitely not the best person to ask about this because the director of advising really handles it, but I can speak to it broadly. The AP and IB credits have mostly been processed. This is the update that I got from the director today. Those AP and IB credits can influence which courses a student may have to take as opposed to something that they have tested out of. Once all of those are processed and you know that you're waiting for AP or IB credits, the first thing you should do is go into email and use that link to make a one-on-one appointment with the advisor to see how your schedule might change because of those credits being posted.
Let's see. Another question is, does the language placement test only happen during the summer, or can they take it when they arrive on campus?
I do not know the answer to that question, but it's something we can get back to you on.
They'll be very, very busy once they get on campus.
They
So I
will.
would think it's really wise to go ahead and do it this summer. If your student is like away for the summer without good internet access or something, like they're a camp counselor or they're traveling or something, then they may want to investigate that. But we'll get an answer to that and include it in the follow-up email that we'll send everybody. Let's see. Another question was, I think this has been answered, but if your student is signed up for 6 classes right now, that might sound like too much, but if one of or 2 of them are 1 credit hour classes, then that's kind of typical. So I think it's more to look at the total number of credit hours than maybe the number of different classes, because for instance, a TIDES class only meets for 1 hour and 15 minutes for 12 weeks. Some of the ones that are with the business school are longer, but they get additional things and credit and include service learning pieces. So they're manageable. They're not like a 3 credit hour course,
Right.
And they don't have final exams. So that is another thing that makes it sort of a first year student friendly opportunity, so that they can focus on other things within that course format. One question was how many credits to graduate from architecture. I don't know if that's something that our panelists would know off the top of their heads, but
It depends. There's the
Yeah.
Bachelor of Architecture and then there's the Master of Architecture. I believe the Bachelor of Architecture is like all other school requirements except for business, which is around 120 credit hours. I could be, within 5 or 10 credit hour. I think it's about 120 for architecture bachelors. A lot of our architecture students are 4+1, so they get the masters.
There are also 2 different bachelors that the School of Architecture. One is a 4-year and one's a 5-year. So it really depends on which one your student is interested in. But they can meet with the college advisor as well as with an advisor in architecture to make sure they're in the right program and then to plan out a course of study for that.
So there have been a couple of questions about working on an on-campus job. And so in the most recent family newsletter, there was an article about student employment, which is a part of our human resources department here at Tulane. And students can look on the website that's included in that article to start looking for jobs that are available, and they can apply through that. But also in the first full week of classes, there is an on-campus job fair. And so they can also go to that fair that's set up during the daytime. They can stop by and talk to employers that will have different information tables. And so they can either apply online or talk to people in person, learn more about the jobs, and then apply. And those jobs are, especially if they're on campus, then the number of hours per week are more flexible. They're designed for students whose first priority needs to be classes. And I think that it's a really great thing for your student to explore, because the people they're working for would be like the people you've met through these webinars, and they understand that your student is a student first. They need responsible students who will show up for the shifts that they have, but they're also more willing to make some adjustments around midterms or final exams than, the local Starbucks might, for instance, or something. So, we certainly have students who have off-campus jobs, but they should really look at those on-campus jobs first, especially if they have received a college work study award as part of their financial aid package. And so that means that that's money they can earn, but if they don't go through the process and apply for a job and get assigned a position, then they won't have the opportunity to earn that part of their financial aid package. So there are jobs on campus in everything from our recreation center to the library to maybe working at the front desk for the English department or something. So there's a lot of different opportunities for students. And if they have special skills, they should mention those. So if they're really adept at internet research, or they already know Excel, or if they're a trained lifeguard already and they have their certification, all of those things can help assist them. So in finding positions on campus. And then our student employment office also has some opportunities that are off campus with particular partnerships that the Human Resources Department has developed. And so somebody asked, is it really competitive? Are there plenty of job opportunities? And I would say it's kind of both. Students should not sit on that. They really should go ahead and apply and look online at the jobs that are already posted. There might be more that are posted, once it's August. But sometimes if they wait too late into the semester, then all the jobs are already assigned. So I think their best bet is to go ahead and get on that, really soon, to looking into those and applying for particular positions so that they can have an interview with someone and get a placement. And they can interview with more than one, and that's typical that they would do that. So let's see. Oh, one question is about accommodations, and that office is actually under the Division of Student Affairs, but we'll just make a quick mention about this. And there is a webinar that's already in our archive about our Goldman Center for Student Accessibility. And that's the office that works with students who need accommodations. And so they should go ahead and request those now, so that you can supply any of the necessary documentation that might be needed to confirm that those accommodations should be supplied. And that way it already gets, evaluated and confirmed. And then the students who are given those accommodations, whose accommodations are approved, the Goldman Center notifies the students' professors. And so they are, aware of what kinds of things might be approved and necessary for your students. So it's really better to go ahead and do that over the summer, so everything can get set in place before classes begin. Would either of you like to say anything else about accommodations and that process?
I just wanted to say, I think it's really important. Some students come to college and decide they're no longer going to use the accommodations that they might have had in high school. That's generally a mistake. And we'd like them to get the accommodations that they need to have, and to do it well before the semester starts, so that their professors know. And so when tests come up and things like that, they can make the advance arrangements that they have to make in order to take their test in the testing center for extra time or other accommodations. And so I would highly encourage everyone to get that done as soon as possible.
And we still would recommend that you do that and have your student apply this summer. But if you want to learn more, definitely watch that webinar. And then the Goldman Center will also have a drop-in open house on all of the move-in days in the afternoons, I think from 1 to 4. And so if you just wanted to be able to meet some of the people who help with that process and learn more about what's offered, they'll also have tours of the testing center that they have available for students who need a different environment to take a test than their class, or they need expanded time. So you would be able to kind of just learn more about how that is all managed at Tulane in those open houses. So one other question was, how do I sign up for the family newsletter? So if you haven't been receiving those, please email families@tulane.edu. That's families, plural, @tulane.edu. Give me your first and last name, your email address, that you want me to use if it's not the one you're messaging from, and give me your student's full name and their Tulane email address so I can just confirm that you're there and which cohort you should be in. And in the meantime, you can look at the families .tulane.edu website for the archive of the ones that have already gone out this summer. So that's the best way to manage that for the foreseeable future. And so again, it's FAMILIES @tulane.edu. You don't even have to remember who I am. You remember who you are. Your families @tulane.edu, and just @tulane.edu. You'll be able to find it. So I think we're going to kind of call for last questions. So a couple of people have asked some things that are about how would my student get involved with different co-curricular, extracurricular activities like sports, and are there walk-on opportunities for football? In that case, you really should call the football office. And so look on the Tulane website for athletics and make a call there. But students have a wonderful opportunity when they arrive. I think it will be over Labor Day weekend. We have a great big student activities fair. And so the students who are already involved in a wide variety of student organizations, clubs, and activities will staff different information tables. Your student can walk in and talk to many people at once to just learn more about student organizations. They can find out which ones, have some kind of an intake process or, application, and others that they can just sign up for and go attend. And they'll be able to talk to students who are currently in those. So it's a good thing to get involved with a couple of those things to balance their approach to their experience, their first year. But some of those organizations range from academic related things or career things. For almost every different school, there's there's an engineering school, student organization, or different ones for different kinds of engineering. There are other things for the business school. So some of them are social and recreational or service related, or other things that are a little bit more of an intellectual or academic scope in terms of their activities. So there's plenty for them to do, and it's a good thing for them to get involved in that. It gives them one other way to meet other students and also start to network with upper class students who have gotten more experience in some of these things, and sometimes meet other faculty advisors and things through those activities. So they'll learn more about this. And another question was, how will the students learn about all of these things? And so, as Kelly mentioned, these different resources will be repeated throughout the year in many different ways to educate the students about the opportunities and the support that exists. And one of those best ways is in that TIDES class that they'll take first semester, because those peer educators, as peer helpers who are attached to those courses, have a little bit of time in each week's class session to go over some of these things. And so they time those for things that are kind of appropriate for the time of the semester, and they remind them of everything from tutoring to how to manage their time, or other kinds of these academic resources and other opportunities for engagement in service or organizations. And so that TIDES Peer Mentor is another conduit through which the students are learning about these things from somebody who's been trained and who's been through it all, a little bit older than your student will be in their first year, who can help connect them to all of these wonderful things that the college does. Then your student has also been getting a newsletter every 2 weeks through the summer. That's called the Navigator. And so that e-newsletter that comes right to their Tulane email box is also another mechanism that the college uses to communicate all of these things and keep them on track about deadlines, and give them education about these different things, and just promote these different opportunities. So those will continue the whole first year. So that's another thing that your students should just get in the habit of paying attention to and reading and carefully following through on those different things that are mentioned. So Kelly and Mollye, do you have any final words of encouragement or reminders you'd like to share before we close?
I don't have anything except welcome to Tulane. So welcome, all families are also welcome. This is your journey as well. And if we can be of help, then please let us know.
Mollye, are you with us? Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close?
Sorry, my internet keeps going in and out, so I apologize for that. I would just join Kelly in saying welcome. We look forward to welcoming you on campus in a month. And we look forward to seeing you all at the family welcome event as this journey begins.
And that will be on at 5 o'clock in McAllister Auditorium. Your student has a meeting at the very same time, so you should feel fine to leave them for a little while and come to that event, and you'll get to hear from senior leaders like Mollye welcome you to the university and share some good thoughts and wisdom for you as family members. And then the last thing I would like to say is we appreciate the little emojis you're sending us. We appreciate that feedback. If you have more feedback that you would like to offer, you're always welcome to email that to me at families@tulane.edu. Even if it's something specifically for one of our panelists, I'll forward that along to them. And then we always appreciate your feedback. Some of the things you might appreciate about our webinars were suggestions from parents in prior years. So you're welcome to, submit constructive criticism, praise. We always love that, but we always want your unbiased, helpful feedback. And if you've got topics that you would like to hear about in the future, I really value that, and we'll reach out and find a panel of people to talk to you about those things and plan those for future webinars. So thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate your being here. Again, watch your email in the next couple of days. We'll send you some follow-up information with the link to the video in case you want to watch some of it again. And thank you so much for all of the hearts and praise and confetti. So we appreciate that. So we hope you have a great evening and that your preparation for the move to campus goes well, and that you do take some time in the midst of all of that really tasky logistical preparation to have some really great conversations with your student that are about these bigger topics about how they're going to approach their career at Tulane. How do they want to define success for themselves? Reinforce to them that there are plenty of people who care about how they do at Tulane and want to support them, and that it is okay to ask for help. Please help us normalize that everybody needs some extra support at different times, and we are designed for that. All of those support structures are here. And so I know that sometimes it can get to that point of the summer where everything is about, how much are we going to ship to campus? How are we going to do that? What's the travel going to be like? It's all of those kinds of things that help your student kind of move back from that a little bit and look at the bigger picture and take that time to offer your support and your encouragement and let them know that you're supporting them and that they're going to be moving away from you, and that's a big growth process, and you'll support them from afar, but there are lots of people here who want to help them succeed. So if you don't take away anything else from our series of webinars, we hope you take that away and just remember that everybody is here to help your students, and we want to see them be successful, and we're so excited to have them be a part of our university community. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.